First and foremost, I want to say I'm so freaking thrilled to see the power of our current generation of adults and our willingness to speak up. We're starting to see the world we were born into for what it really is, and what a complete dumpster fire we've been left with. Britney suffered over a decade of exploitation and mental abuse, put on full display for the media and the people to consume. The adults of our yesteryear were more interested in the notoriety and scandals surrounding Britney and how each entity could capitalize on these events, rather than seeing the very real psychological horror that was unfolding right before our eyes. I am going to do a quick summary of the situation for those who haven't seen my first Britney video from 2019, and for those who don't want all the little details. Big thanks to the anonymous Britney fan on Twitter. Your research and summarization was excellent. I will add a link to the thread and their Twitter below, as well as links to others closely following this situation. You may have recently heard about the growing online movement to free Britney. This is not an edgy conspiracy theory. The mounting evidence in this thread will show how a woman has had all of her rights taken away for over 12 years and counting. The truth will set Britney free. On January 4th, 2008, Britney Spears was taken from her home in an ambulance and forced into psychiatric care after locking herself in the bathroom with one of her sons during a custody dispute. This is when we saw the horrific videos of paparazzi chasing the ambulance.
Gotta get back.
While a normal 5150 hold would require a person to stay in the hospital for 72 hours, Britney was released the next day, suggesting they didn't think she was suffering from any serious mental health issues. That same day, Britney Spears' father had all the paperwork ready to ask the court to put her under what's called a conservatorship. In court documents, her father claimed that she had a dementia-related illness, which is inconsistent with Britney's ability to tour. Under a conservatorship, Britney Spears doesn't control her own money, can't hire an attorney, can't drive, vote, or see friends without permission, isn't allowed to have custody of her children, and has her social media monitored. A proposed conservatee is required to be given notice 5 days before a hearing, but Britney's dad petitioned the court to not give notice to Britney. It was granted, meaning Britney was kept unaware that she was being placed under a conservatorship. On February 2nd, Britney's dad attempted to get a capacity declaration from her psychiatrist, Dr. James Long, supporting his claims. After consulting with his attorney, Dr. Long refused to speak with her dad's attorney. On February 4th, a high-profile lawyer Britney hired, named Adam Streisand, went to court claiming the singer did not want her father in control of her finances. The court said Britney couldn't pick her own attorney and ejected him from the courtroom. On February 12th, Britney attempted to hire another attorney, Jonathan Eardley. He spoke to her on the phone, but claimed someone wrestled the phone from her and he hadn't heard from her since. Mr. Eardley attempted to take Britney's case from state court to federal court, saying she was denied her civil rights. The U.S. District Court said he couldn't represent Britney because they already said she couldn't choose her own lawyer. The case was dismissed. Just months after the court deemed Britney incapable of making decisions about her daily life and finances, she would guest star on How I Met Your Mother.
Because when people yell at me, I have a tendency to start crying. Please don't do it.
Abby, I've told you before, when they're rude to you, hang up the phone.
Britney would then release the #1 smash hit Womanizer in September and begin the circus era, all of which went directly to profit the conservatorship because Britney isn't allowed to control her own money. In November, Britney's documentary, For the Record, is released. Scenes were deleted and later leaked in which Britney claims her life was being too controlled.
I have really good days and then I have bad days. Sometimes it's like too much. Nobody could deal with some of that stuff like that. Things that just happened to me personally have been the problem. My trust has really been battered. Sometimes it can get kind of lonely. I had totally lost my way. I lost focus. I lost myself. I never wanted to become one of those prisoner people. I always wanted to feel free, get in my car and go and not let people make me feel like I had to stay in my home. I had let certain people into my life that were just bad people. And I was very guarded at first, but then I went to a point where I ended up letting them in because I was lonely or whatever the fact, and I really paid the consequences for that. And big time. But I just feel like you do something wrong and you learn from it, you move on. But it's like I'm having to pay for it for a really long time.
She says people hear what she's saying, but they're not really listening, and she's sad.
I'm kind of stuck in this place, and it's like, how do you deal? You know, just like you can't really go there in a complete state of happiness because you're scared that it's going to be taken away. The way I feel, it's like they hear me, but they really not listening. If I wasn't under the restraints that I'm under right now, I'd feel so liberated and feel like myself. I'm sad.
She also talks about not being able to freely drive her car.
When did you last feel free?
When I got to drive my car a lot.
Around this time, Britney gave her friend Andrew Gallery a letter that she wanted him to read to her fans. He recently was released from an NDA and read this letter out loud on his TikTok.
What's up, everybody? I've been seeing all the stuff about the Free Britney movement, and I feel compelled to say something about this now. I used to work with Britney back in 2008-9 during her comeback. My name's Andrew Gallery. I was an in-house director and photographer for her. Here's a couple pictures so you guys can see. So in that time, we became close friends. We were on tour together, spent every day together for, a while. And in that time, she gave me a letter that she wanted me to read to you guys. And I'm putting it right up here behind me because before I got a chance to read it to you guys, the Conservatorship took it and destroyed it. So before they destroyed it, I did make a copy. So here it is. After reading Kevin's article in People, I was amazed at how a lot of the focus was on Britney, their mother, in order to sell a story for People magazine, instead of the focus being on Kevin. What happened to Britney was a year ago, and people need to get with the times. And as for Kevin saying Britney divorced him, she just was forced by her lawyers because she went to visit him in New York, and he wouldn't see her and the children, and her lawyers said if she doesn't divorce him, he's going to do it himself. So Kevin trying to play the innocent victim is hardly irrelevant. He left her and the babies. Her going on the men partying 2 years ago has nothing to do with the situation now. She's a completely different person, and most of their fighting was done back then because of his problem waking and baking to marijuana at 5 o'clock in the morning. No one talks about these things because no one knows the truth. Her behavior when her children got taken away because of her locking herself in the bathroom is understandable, considering her friend at the door kept telling her the cops are leaving. Stay in the bathroom. She was lied to and set up. Her children were taken away, and she did spin out of control, which any mother would in those circumstances. Her next visit took a toll. As well, she wasn't listening to her manager. He lost control, so he wanted to scare her. Now, this year, Britney has been silenced to speak about anything that's really going on. The people controlling her life have made $3 million this year. This next part is blurred out, so I'm going to show it to you guys. Okay, but this part says, if she speaks up, she is threatened. Sorry, some of this it's hard to read. She would love for new eyes to see her situation, but if she brings it up, she's constantly threatened that the conservators will take her kids away. Okay, next page. How long does this go on? As long as the people are getting paid and she has no rights, it could go on for a while. But it doesn't make it right at all. Everyone is very quick to put a gloomy eye on Britney. Does anyone talk about Janet Jackson giving her baby to her brother? Hopefully she won't do it with this. Britney's given her brother a $2 million apartment, her mother a $4 million estate in Louisiana, and her father the best job in show business. She's a very giving person and would love to get the respect she deserves. So like I said, she gave this letter to me back in like 2008 or so. I was under contract back then. I couldn't really talk about anything. And now seeing everything that's going on, frankly, I'm a little worried about her. So I wanted to get this out there. There's also a lot more to this story, so I will post more later.
In early January of 2009, a voicemail leaked in which Britney told attorney Jonathan Yeardley that during the process of eliminating the conservatorship, her father threatened to take her kids away.
Received January 21st at 12:29 a.m.
Hi, my name is Britney Spears. I called you earlier, but I'm calling again because I just wanted to make sure.
This voicemail was likely made using a burner phone Britney received from her former manager's sister. Britney's dad and the sister testified to this under oath. In March of 2009, Britney would embark on the multi-million-dollar circus tour, which begs the question how someone so unfit to make their own decisions can do dangerous stunts like this without a harness. Later in 2009, news outlets report Britney Spears' business manager, Lou Taylor, was the mastermind behind the conservatorship and brainwashed her dad that this was the only way to go. This is when Lindsay Lohan's father exposed a similar plot to put his daughter under a conservatorship too, specifically mentioning Lou Taylor and Larry Rudolph. "2010 is one of the scariest years of the whole situation, because there's very little information about what was going on during this time. All we know is that Britney returned in 2011 for the Femme Fatale tour, in which fans saw she was being heavily medicated. Also in 2011, beauty mogul Elizabeth Arden sued Britney's dad, Lou Taylor, and her estate for breach of contract. She claimed the notion that Britney Spears is mentally or emotionally unfit to testify under oath is a sham. In July, the conservators bankrupted her charitable organization, the Britney Spears Foundation, and claimed only $17 in assets. Over $50,000 went to Mercy Ministries of Nashville, where Lou Taylor served as an honorary chair. In 2012, legal experts began questioning the conservatorship when she started judging and mentoring individuals on the X Factor. How can she do that, but not make her own decisions? It just doesn't make any sense.
This extreme legal measure usually occurs when the subject has physical or mental limitations to care for themselves. But Britney's rough patch was many years ago. So why is she still under a conservatorship?
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I see myself in a big ranch with horses and 2 more children and my loving husband
and that's it.
She had the conservatorship. It was all started 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago. That's a long time, and since then, she seems to have her life on track. She was an X Factor judge.
Britney Spears!
She is mentoring individuals, she's judging them, but at the same time, supposedly she cannot take care of herself or manage her own decisions, including food, clothing, and shelter. Doesn't make sense.
Questioning why that lack of control has spanned for so long with no end in sight, Forbes husband and wife writing team Danielle and Andy Mayoris claim that the conservatorship is being used more as a business tool. It's reported the contract for her upcoming Planet Hollywood Vegas residency includes a clause that the conservatorship must be in place.
There's millions of dollars at stake, and I think when there's so much money at stake, more people are concerned about what happens, not only to her, but to her assets as well.
So the question we ask is, if she wasn't worth millions of dollars, would she be under conservatorship?
The conservatorship has also shielded Britney from various lawsuits. An example of that was when her former manager, Sam Lutfi's legal team, was unable to subpoena her into court to testify for a breach of contract lawsuit against her and her parents.
She can't go through a deposition because she's not mentally competent.
Another possible contributing factor as to why the conservatorship has continued is her custody arrangement with ex-husband Kevin Federline. According to family law attorney Barry Weinberger, who has not worked with Spears, visitation with her sons Sean and Jaden could be jeopardized if she petitions for a termination.
Under the conservatorship, she's technically not permitted to have legal or physical custody of the children. But she does have extended visitation, and we all know that she's spending considerable time with the kids, arguably 50% of the time or even more with her boys.
Britney Spears' former nanny also testified that year that the pop star was being emotionally manipulated in the conservatorship. Britney's father asked for additional compensation after she started her Las Vegas residency, including 1.5% of all the gross revenue, in addition to a $16,000 a month salary and $2,000 a month rent payment. In 2015, Britney released Pretty Girls with Iggy Azalea. Here she is explaining the lengths they took before allowing Britney to have lunch at her home.
What happened before Britney Spears came to her place for lunch once while the singers were collaborating on Pretty Girls. She explained to Andy Cohen that Britney had a team of people go over to her house, look around a bit to make sure she wouldn't be any sort of bad influence or try to give her anything. Iggy said of the experience this: I was like, I promise I'm not going to do anything bad. I just want to have lunch. I mean, I don't do anything weird. I don't have like a crack den. What? That's a pretty intense lunch meeting, but at least we got a really great song out of the collab, right?
In 2016, Britney's ex-boyfriend David Liccato said he doesn't think she needs a conservatorship. If anyone could see her interactions with her kids, they would know there was no need for a conservatorship over Britney's personal life. During the Glory era, Britney spoke publicly for the first time about the conservatorship on The Jonathan Ross Show. Fans in the audience confirmed this, and it was widely reported, but those parts were eventually cut from the program before it aired. Britney has also given many hints about wanting more freedom in her Instagram posts. In October of 2018, Britney's co-conservator Andrew Wallet asked the court for a raise. He wanted $426,000 per year, citing her increased well-being and her capacity to be engaged. Wallet called the conservatorship at this time a hybrid business model, and notes that Conservatees' business activities have greatly accelerated. On January 4th, 2019, Britney Spears' new domination residency is abruptly canceled. The Post said that it was because of her father's recent illness, although he's seen going fishing soon after. On January 12, 2019, Britney was seen driving through In-N-Out with her boyfriend Sam Asghari. She would then go missing from the public eye for 3 months. Suspiciously, Andrew Wallet then asks the court to remove him as Britney's co-conservator. He says substantial detriment, irreparable harm, and immediate danger will result to the conservatee and her estate if the relief requested herein is not granted. It is reported in April that Britney entered herself voluntarily into a mental health facility. Here's how the media covered it at that time.
A source close to the Spears family tells ET Britney Spears is currently in a facility taking time to care for herself amid tremendous stress over her father, Jamie Spears' current health crisis. According to a different source, she is the one who finally decided she needed help and made the decision to manage her own emotions. She finally realized it was affecting her everyday life and even her relationships. On Wednesday, Britney also posted a message to Instagram, writing, "We all need to take time for a little me time." In January, Britney announced she would be taking an indefinite work hiatus to focus on her father's recovery after a near-death health incident. Britney shared the news on Instagram, writing in part, "A couple of months ago, my father was hospitalized and almost died. We're all so grateful that he came out of it alive, but he still has a long road ahead of him. I had to make the difficult decision to put my full focus and energy on my family at this time. I hope you all can understand." A source told ET last month that Jamie Spears was getting stronger every day and was doing much better. But now a source tells ET that his illness has frightened Brit, adding, quote, "He has always been her savior and her support system, and it doesn't seem that he is getting better. She has always trusted her father in every way and is finding it difficult to deal with the possibility of losing him."
However, a person left a frightening voicemail on a popular podcast, Britney's Gram, claiming Britney has been forced into the mental health facility against her will and was being forced to take drugs.
Hi there. I cannot disclose who I am. I just heard the latest episode. You guys are onto something. I used to be a paralegal for an attorney that worked with Britney's Conservatorship. I am no longer with them. And what is happening is disturbing, to say the least. So basically, Britney was in rehearsals for domination. It came to Jamie's attention, Jamie Spears, that Britney was not taking her medication as prescribed. She was missing a lot of doses and just full on not taking them. So they got her to the doctor. The doctor said, "Okay, if you don't want these medications, let's get you on a new one." Well, she refused to take the new one. So Jamie said, "Either you take this medication or the show's off, and I'm pulling my support and you can't do it." Britney did not follow Jamie's instructions, and so he was true to his word. He pulled the show. He verbatim said, "Blame it on my illness." And that's when we get the early January Instagram. Fast forward a couple days, Britney's still not following through with her medication. And as you guys have mentioned, she is seen with Sam driving. A big no-no on, it's a big rule that she broke.
That's when the Free Britney movement first started trending on Twitter and fans began protesting. Britney's mom began liking comments about Free Britney. Britney's team went into full damage control. Sources started telling the press that Britney would have died if they didn't put her into a mental health facility. But wait, what happened to them saying she entered voluntarily? A proof of life video was then posted of Britney Spears inside the mental health facility.
Hi guys, just checking in with all of you who are concerned about me. All is well. My family has been going through a lot of stress and anxiety lately, so I just needed time to deal. But don't worry, I'll be back very soon.
For Easter, Britney was allowed to leave the mental health facility to spend time with her boyfriend. She looked extremely medicated in the pictures that came out. Britney was eventually released and told the judge in May that her father forced her to enter the facility against her will. Just weeks before he was supposed to testify at the next court hearing in September, Britney Spears' psychiatrist, Dr. Timothy Benson, mysteriously died. Before the court hearing, Britney posted this on Instagram.
I'm a Sagittarius. I'm very keen on freedom. I love freedom. I love independence. I don't like to be tied down.
Britney's father was also accused of one of Britney's kids. Her two boys now have a 3-year restraining order against the grandfather, and she lost 50-50 visitation with Kevin Federline.
All right, guys, tonight Britney Spears' father is being accused of so let's get up to Raquel Villanueva. She has the news at the moment.
Jeff, Britney Spears' dad, Jamie, is under investigation after her ex, Kevin Federline, accused him of their son. TMZ says the incident happened August 24th. Jamie Spears allegedly broke down a locked door and put his hands on one of his grandsons during an argument. Kevin reported it the next day. The Ventura County District Attorney's Office will go over the evidence and decide if charges are necessary.
The Free Britney movement has existed for years, and until there was enough support, more money to be made by doing good reporting instead of for the shock value, big media mostly remained silent on this issue. Now, with the release of Framing Britney Spears, came the crashing down of the enormous waves that have already been made towards her freedom. I definitely don't want to minimize the value of big media finally seeing their way to capitalize on the support and humanization of celebrities, but let us not lose sight of how grueling and long this battle has been up to this point. It truly is a shame that it finally took the New York Times, combined with FX, and their release on Hulu, to make us able to really drive the point home, and for this issue to be heard on a bigger scale. But we are now closer to Britney's liberation than ever. She was a benchmark for the extremes at which paparazzi would pursue celebrities and interfere with their lives. And it showed how readily and willing we would be to consume such material, pushing an entertainer, loved and revered nations over, to the absolute brink of insanity, and then devouring the media fodder that came as a result. If she can now be the catalyst to a new precedent in which we start seeing and consuming media for what it really is, that will be her ultimate redemption. Taking away any power and negative impact the media has on us, and the generations to come, is just one more step closer to releasing us from the corporate bondage that we are all enslaved to. Financial independence is easier to obtain more now than ever, and we are seeing more value in the authentic, repurposed, handmade, than the increasingly mass-produced and overrated garbage we've been forced to consume as we've gotten older. Anyways, that's a whole other video. The spiritual war we're fighting against the American dream and what actually makes us happy. Another time. As of Britney's most recent conservatorship hearing, after essentially being on strike since 2019, and the Free Britney movement gaining more and more traction, she sees a small victory in having a new co-conservatorship appointed of her and her legal team's choosing, the Bessemer Trust, and she still refuses to work while her father James Spears is involved and in control of her life. Her case for freedom is gaining even more momentum as more celebrities have joined the movement. Overall, we're being forced to take a step back and look at how the media has portrayed celebrity meltdowns and other erratic or otherwise scandalous behavior. Now that we're actually looking at the Britney situation as a whole, other things have come to light, such as Lou Taylor's involvement in Jamie Spears' investment decisions. It's also been revealed that Lou was collecting exorbitant fees from Britney before Britney even had any knowledge of her existence. In fact, she initially thought Lou was a stalker. Currently, after all these years of major success, Britney is only worth $60 million. She's been milked for everything she's worth her entire life. When will this madness end? She now has 2 more hearings scheduled for the near future, March 17th and April 27th, 2021. It's common for celebrities and wealthy families to hold their funds in a private trust company, allowing them to manage investments and assets on their behalf. It is not common for a 39-year-old, able-working and functioning mother of 2 to be under control of an elderly parent in any capacity.
I'm not upset at anybody, but you know what? It is what I said is what I said, so I think he's a dick. That's just my opinion, but I'm not going to go into details. That's it, man.
We are so sorry, Britney. And not because I ever poked fun or fanned the flames by any means. I was just a teenager when the majority of this all went down. Regardless, I really am sorry we all took so long to take notice of what was going on behind the scenes. Not that I think Britney Spears is ever going to watch this, but But if she ever does, by some odd chance, I want her to know that we are aware that she is but one of many young celebrities, and not only females, that have suffered and are suffering this kind of systematic exploitation, abuse, and over-medication to keep them under control. An even more extreme dance monkey situation, with having their mental state and children, if any, used against them, instead of chains and a whip. Our eyes are wide open, and we will no longer avert them away from the collateral damage to human lives caused by the industry. This has gone on for far too long, and it's but one part of why I've been digging deeper into the MK experiments, and how their refinement of mind and behavioral control has potential use in real-life scenarios, not just for military defensive and offensive measures. The value of repurposing and reconditioning a human to be able to robotically perform non-stop with very little time left for a private life, let alone having any personal life at all. Many celebrities don't even require any kind of reprogramming and are easily coerced and controlled to an extent by their managers and contract holders in other ways. So long as they continue to do as they're told, there's no need to intervene or interfere. But as is in the case of Britney, as soon as they are pushing back against their parents and teams of people handling them, they are labeled as reckless or crazy and taken into psychiatric care against their will. Whatever happens behind those closed doors is a whole other thing, and I hope to dig much deeper into that as well. If you haven't checked out my MK videos, I highly suggest doing so, as to better understand the various celeb profile pieces and other videos I post. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up, and please be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on, and I will catch you on the flip side.